wish it was another controller I could play this. Nah, I don't think so. I know. I'm about to ask. Holy shit, at least it's slightly older. Yeah, at least it's slightly older. His costume was Tales of Xillia. I don't know why. I found out. I don't really want to. You guys are reading? No, it's not. It's not that I'm not into the reading. You gotta wait till you play it. Yeah. Also, I don't know how to put this. But it's a one-button game. Right? Scale sponsor 100 games. It's a one-button ad. Like, you want to be fucking going to all the other shit. Why? Alright, so all I had is alright, what else? Dual blades, okay. Rowan, Leia. Oh god, Leia. Wow. Whole character too. Seriously, why not? Yo, you're the first guy this leader. Done. Not like there was a reason I'm not playing with it. No, I knew the trail. But not guy. I gotta prove it. He's a guy. They only gave him 4 feet. That's all he's gonna need. And David or even big. Well, I think we've seen Jimmy like 1,000 times. That's it. Yeah, it's like 5. Alright, yes, the same technique is kind of like deep, I guess. Really? I mean, yo, these guys, he's got the sword. You're telling one guy, I got all the basics of the war. So, not but you're checking out skills for this. He's got overlimit, guard, choke hands. Yeah, he doesn't have too much right now. Alright, let's show you like on the game oh, is that like recording from the channel? Yeah. Is that powerful? Pick it up. Pick it up. It's only yeah, I got it.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so what else?
Me and Sully are just gonna sit here and talk some Tales. But all right, so yeah.
So the first choice he made was Gaius, obviously.
Of course, Gaius the god, man. If you played the first Tales, if you played the first Xillia, you know that Gaius is completely ridiculously OD.
And he wasn't playable.
Yeah, right. You couldn't even play with him.
But he had everything else. Oh, you can give him the swag glasses.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him the glasses.
Like it's already.
Rowan spectacles. Oh, I can change him up to the swag glasses too. Leia has a beret, but I can switch that off. And her hairstyle is like mad different.
Well, yeah, I mean the first one it didn't really match. She was like a Chinese uniform. They had this like weird little
pigtails, like.
Yeah,
but the pigtails were cool. I actually like Leia's
and this is that new character
style, but she looks good in this one.
Yeah.
All right, now from what I was seeing, or from what I know, Ludger can actually change his
fighting style.
Yes, his weapons. Yeah, so you see he has blades, then a hammer, and then guns. I have my man Mr. Lee here.
Yeah.
Here to help me walk. I haven't really got a chance to play with him much. To play with him much, but it looks like he can switch between 3 different weapons.
Yes. So Luger. So this is new to the series, and it's for the first time. And Luger's the only character that can do it.
Right.
He has basically 3 different weapons he can use, 3 different stances. So he has the dual blades, he has the sledgehammer, and he has the dual pistols.
Right.
And so in the middle of battle, you can just swap between them like on the fly. And then with each weapon stance that he uses, you get a whole new set of arts. So you have all those arts, all those strategies at your fingertips when you're using Luger.
Right.
But he's the only character that can do it.
Cool. Well, first, I'm gonna use some Gaius.
Yeah.
All right. I know that Gaius pretty much has the is real basic tail style with extremely powerful, extremely long range, and just a lot of the attributes of his basic tail style are just completely ridiculous. His piece is so much huger than like everybody else's. It reminds me of he reminds me of like a lot of the old school really broken Tails memes like Reed, where they're where he's doing like super strong and doing infinites by himself and whatnot, and not even having having to rely on the system to do that, like Yuri did in Tales of Xillia.
He had to work it to get some of his
you
stuff.
had to really work to get his stuff done, but with Gaius, you just do stuff.
He's just strong.
He's just strong as hell.
And so Gaius in Xillia 2, I mean, he's basically the king of Rieze Maxia at this point. So this is 1 year later. And so he does end up joining with Luger in their not so much their plight, but as they're going through trying to create peace between Olympios and Rieze Maxia. So he ends up joining them because he joins their cause in order to...
So it's safe to say Olympios still have a mana problem, right?
They're still having their issues, so they aren't able to harness mana the same way as in Rieze Maxia. So they use Spyrix technology, and which basically does the exact opposite of what the people in Rieze Maxia want. So that's kind of the main...
It kills the spirits.
It kills off the spirits.
You know if you played the first one.
That's the way this is. So at this point in time, Jude is still trying to research the Spyrix technology, because he believes that there's a way, basically, they can harness that, and so Olympios can be basically powered without having to
sacrifice the spirits.
Yeah, suck the spirits. So he's still doing that. With Luger, his main story, the main story for the game is
you don't have the advantage encounters in the test build.
It's not in the test build, but it is in the game.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. In this demo, it's not in there, but you do have that in the game. So the main story, Luger. So Elle, at the beginning of the story, she's traveling with her father. They get attacked, and her father tells her, "You need to find the land of Canaan. If you go there, everything will be fine. You just need to get there." He gets gunned down. She basically is hiding on a ship. Ship goes off to Triglav, and so she meets Luger there. He decides to help her out. They travel together to try and help her find this place.
I guess previous news item after that. He's the first character in debt.
Yeah, I hear there's this debt system where you have to pay like $1 billion gold or something.
So basically what happens...
you bet on the Knicks?
I know, that's just cool. So basically, towards the beginning of the game, the first time that he meets Elle, they go on this train, and then the train gets attacked, and basically they get hurt. So they're unconscious. This
medical bills?
Yeah, basically. Basically, this man heals them, fixes them, but it's like, to pay for your medical services, you owe us all this gold.
What is he from? He's from America? Like, he doesn't have any Obamacare or anything?
No Obamacare. So he basically takes on that debt in order to basically keep Elle from having to pay for part of that too. So throughout the game, you do have to pay this debt, and so someone's there to help you, but basically you have to slowly pay out this debt as you play through the game. So the way that it kind of integrates into the story, besides that it happened in the story, is also so the debt is actually taken up by the Spurious Corporation, and so they place travel restrictions on any person who's in debt, and so you're not able to just travel wherever you want.
So until you pay, you can.
So you pay, as you slowly pay off little parts of your debt, they trust you a little bit more, and then they will slowly release that travel restriction on you.
Another thing about the time came back, you're going to make back.
Yeah, it seems like the system is mostly the same from Xillia 1.
Yes.
Pretty much intact. You still have the character links with the link arts.
The link arts, and then
it still has the AC system with the TP.
Yep.
And it seems like everything is pretty much intact from the first Xillia. It's just with more characters.
Yes. So one of the new things they added for Xillia 2 is as you fight alongside certain characters, so when you're linked with them, your affinity will grow with them. So there's an affinity meter, and then as that grows, and also depending on what choices you make in the choices in Xillia 2, that will also affect your affinity, and then you'll learn more. You'll learn a new attack. You'll get some gifts from them, different things as you grow that affinity meter. It's a very minor thing in the game, but it does incorporate there. So the choices are made very similarly to this. You won't, in the main game, you won't have this like choice of characters per se, but as you make choices in the game, that will basically affect the cutscene that happens right after. So depending on what you do, something completely different would happen. And obviously, if you make the choice that is friendly towards a character, then your affinity will increase with them.
Okay. So it seems kind of like the titles that you used to get for increasing affinity with characters, only they just kind of expanded it.
They expanded it a little more. Yep.
A little more. All right, that's cool. Kind of don't want to spoil stuff, so I'm
just skip the cutscene. Yeah, because this is in a part of the game that's a little farther in.
All right, so it just looks like. Oh, all right. I had a question. There's no options here, so I wanted to ask something that I know that a lot of Tales fans have been asking for or asking about. Dual audio, is that still like not a thing for the localization?
So dual audio, unfortunately, is not in Xillia 2. So when the game was made, the game was made to be kind of single voiceover audio. So it was basically kind of a decision to do English because they couldn't release it with the dual audio in the time frame that we needed. So they would have to go back and basically reprogram the whole game to do that.
How do you switch weapons on the fly?
Hold L1, hit R1.
Okay.
Another thing I noticed that we only have one player at the moment. Will Xillia 2 have multiplayer like 2?
Yes. So you can play 4 players. 4 players in the battles co-op.
All right,
same way.
All right. So another question: had they addressed? It was kind of an issue with Xillia 1, where if you were playing with more than 2 players,
the link art kind of that still is.
It's still a problem.
It's still similar. They didn't want to break what they had with the linked art system. So it was I don't know if it was really a conscious decision, but it was kind of a decision of, do we completely redo the linked art system or remove it in order to not have it, or do we keep it as is? What I found, actually a lot of people that I've talked to in the bands, what they would do if they were playing with 2 people, they would basically decide beforehand, like, all right, you're going to link to this person, I'm going to link to this person, that's what we're going to do.
It actually worked really well with 2 players, but
when you have 3 or 4, then it goes kind of funky, yes. Unfortunately.
That's unfortunate, but you know, it's all right. Okay, so I'm just checking out the new character here. Let's take a look at his arts.
He has a gun, so these are arts only for this purpose.
Yeah, all right. But then if you press
L2, you'll switch to.
Right. If you go back to his gun one, the gun arts. Yeah, I remember this from Grace's Lab. That was Hubert's move. Rolling gun. So try it out. See if it's the same move.
It's a little different.
Yeah, I thought it was a jump up like, yeah, that was my favorite arc of Hubert. Alright. Like jump up and shoot from
It doesn't look like you can change the difficulty in the trial version. I know that's
in the
something
trial
that
version
in the real one.
in the real one.
But
yes.
Yeah, you can't really get a fight in.
I know.
Too fast.
It's the only fight that you can really go through on the demo is there's a boss in here. If you go through.
If you go through fast enough,
it's timed. I turned on the timer on the demo before.
Okay.
But yeah, it is timed. But if you go through, just go straight through to the opposite side there.
So Elise is here, but she's not playable right now.
Elise she's not in your party right now, but she's in the story. She's here in this part of the game. In the full game, she would have been in this slot.
Right. Instead of Gaius.
Hey, so how are you feeling between switching between swords, sledgehammer, and guns? How do you think you feel fluid?
So the command is really easy, and so it probably will be a lot fluid once you get used to a lot more fluid. Like, you know, switch, and then and it looks like you kind of have, you can cancel recovery with a weapon switch. So like probably a big thing with Ludger is going to be you use your dual blades and then like do a combo, maybe do a link dart or something, and then like cancel the recovery and then switch your link with somebody else who has a link art with the sledgehammer or whatnot. One of the things in Xillia 1 that it seems like Ludger specifically addresses is that some characters only really had decent link arts with other particular characters. Like Jude had every other move linked with Mila.
Yeah.
But you know, Jude's links with like Rowan or whatever, or like Alvin was a lot more lacking.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ludger has he has so many different chances, that he's got a ton. So if you played the first game and you really like the previous characters, party members from the first game,
I do.
In Xillia 2, once you get to a certain part in the game, which isn't too far into the game, you have the opportunity to go on special character chapters. So there's the main story has all the chapters for that, but they have special chapters for each of the other characters, and it goes on a special, basically, story based on those characters of what they're doing at this time, fleshes them out a little more. It's almost like, from the first game, it almost feels like an epilogue to the first game for those characters. And so those battles, those story plot points, if you played through all of the character chapters, you're looking at an additional like 12 to 20 hours. So it's like they're like a good chunk of story. So it really kind of fleshes out what's happened to those characters in that year that's passed, and also what's happening to them now. It's just pretty cool.
That's reminiscent of I think what was it, Tales of Xillia?
Xillia had the epilogue. They had the straight up epilogue. Yeah. So it's similar, but then it's nice also if you didn't play the first game, you just want to play through the main story. It doesn't force you to go through these like side things that kind of break up the main story. So. What happens is at certain points in the game, when you're not in a main story point, when you're in the main towns, you can, all the characters in your party, they kind of explore on their own. You can talk to them and you can actually decide, you talk to basically Jude and be like, hey, do I want to start Jude's chapter? Yes, no. And then if you say yes, then you go into that chapter.
Yo, Alvin. Yes. Alvin, or Alfred, or whatever you want to call him. But Alvin was really cool because he was, he kind of had the main tail style with a little twist, having a gun and the charge attacks like Carol does in Vesperian. But the one thing that really kind of hampered him was that his attacks were so slow. And that, is he still like that in this game, or did he get a little faster?
They adjusted him a little bit, but they didn't want to. They always try and work on like kind of making sure that characters aren't too overpowered. So they
except for Gaius.
Well, to be fair, Gaius is the man. I mean, he's
true story.
So this battle will go on longer because it's the boss.
Well, I'm glad I made it here.
Yes.
But yeah, but
well, the thing with Carol, who like originated, or in my experience originated this charge art stuff, is that he wasn't very good in combos, but he did, when you did his stuff right, he did ridiculous amounts of damage. Like he did max damage. Alvin doesn't really add that. He just got extra like properties to his arts when you used his charge. But yeah. And the charge arts were really cool, and once you got like a lot of the later skills, which I noticed you don't really have too much of in here. Well, it's a test.
It's a demo, yeah.
But yeah, I noted. But once you got the later skills, you could do more stuff with it. But still, it seemed kind of underwhelming for him to be that slow. So hopefully they changed him up a little bit. Yeah. Or at least enough to make it worth playing with Alvin, or make Alvin as cool as I think he should be. Link card, yeah.
Those are one.
That's pretty classic. That's been in there since.
It's like just press the start, press R1.
Yeah. And then the Ludger also has his chromatis, his transformation ability. So if you press both basically L3 and R3, press them both in, and then he'll transform.
Is that kind of like an over limit?
Yeah. So he's got a bunch of combos. A lot of them start, it's like XXXO, XXO. Those are the kind of different combos you can do. Obviously a little tougher because he's airborne, but it's
well, just checking it out is cool. What items do I have? Got some Alliance jokes. Yeah, dropping stuff. Whoops. Yeah, I still remember how to do this a little bit. I just got to see what Gaius' chains are.
Oh, there we go. No, he did. Need him.
I wanted to see the rest of that. Because the thing was, did they? One thing I really wanted them to do was for them to maybe find like an item. All right, so for Tales of Xillia PS3 version, and that'll be my next question. I'll ask you something about that for my next question. But they gave you something that allowed you to get like 8 overlimit bars. What I wanted to see out of Xillia 2 was something that allowed you to like perhaps double or extend the length of the link dart gauge, so you could really open up. Yeah, so you could really open up more of what you could do, because once you really got the hang of it in Xillia 1, you could go through like a few different arts. Yeah, you could go through a whole bar and then use the moon selector. Well, it's not really called that here, but then switch to a different character and still use, you know, others with that. So it would have been cool for like there to be like 10 arts, and then you could just go like, all right, I'm gonna do 3 Gaius and then switch to Luger and do 3 for her. Like that would have been cool, but I don't know if they put that in the game. Can you say anything else?
I don't believe they did.
All right.
They extend that much. Yeah.
Gaius is enough.
You got it.
But that would have been cool.
That would have been cool. Yes.
And since I brought up Tales of Xillia PS3, I have to ask. A lot of fans are still holding out hope for the PS3 version to be localized. I have it myself, being an importer that I am, and knowing a little bit of Japanese, and so I was able to enjoy it. But still, my Japanese isn't that great.
Yeah.
So I would still love to see it come over here. Could you make any type of comment as to whether or not we're going to get it, or if we can just stop hoping?
Right now, there's no plans at this time. I wouldn't say like, oh, you know, like no, it's not coming, or like, oh, it's possible. It's right now, there's no plans. Based on the timing of the console life, you know, the lifetime of the platforms, all the other things, it's pretty unlikely. It's pretty unlikely you'll see it on PS3. You never know what might happen in the future. You know, we didn't think that, you know, Symphonia was never going to come to the platform.
That's
so
what
that
gave me
later.
hope. Like that came out pretty late.
So, you know, at some point, you know, the dev teams, they do. I mean, they're constantly making new games, you know, obviously, but they do kind of look back at, you know, like legacy games and seeing if there's any time or reason to go to those other platforms or those other games and do something with them. So you never know what might happen with Vesperia in the future, but I basically can say like a straight port of that PS3 game, it's unlikely because there's no plans for it right now.
That really sucks. A lot of people say that's the best Tales of this area.
A lot of people do think so.
And I mean, I played the hell out of that game. I got to the point where I could do air combos with Judith, and it looked like it was Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or something like that. So like, I really would have liked to see it in English, but you know, we'll see what happens.
All right, so this is Gacilius and Nitro. This is signing out, right? Finally.
Oh, you don't want to play for a while?
I'll play later, man. You already showed me the Gaius combos. I'm done.
Well, you can't really get any Gaius combos. They don't have enough life.
Don't know.
The enemies don't. They don't.
But anyway, but yes, this is the Outerhaven. We are here with Dennis Lee
from Namco Bandai.
Dennis Lee from Namco Bandai. Thanks for your time, and thanks for answering all our questions, man.
No, thanks a lot.